Clarify in front, they've weighed out wide, trying very hard, and then Alenko Prince Bud. Clarify, big day, Team Mackay, they'll get the cup. The last little bit, but Splurge in front and home, and Splurge too good in the Commander Park Manawatu 2 Challenge Stakes.
Morning everyone, nice to be back with you here on the first call this morning. Aidan and Jason are along as we get set for the big dance that is Christmas. Hello to you all. Fantastic to be back. I hope the last couple of weeks have gone well for you on the punt, as they have for the gentleman here on the first call, Jason Tarn. A bit of luck over the last couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed your time while I'm away. Merry Christmas to you. And Aidan, how have things been?
And to you as well, Matthew, to you and to yours. Welcome back. Actually, for you, I was here last week, you weren't. So it is nice to have you back in the chair. And were you here last week?
No,
I know you weren't.
Definitely wasn't.
This is holiday season. I'm getting into it early. It's all crazy. But yeah, good couple of meetings, or 3 meetings it was. 3 meetings Saturday last week, and the highlights were at Hamilton at Te Rapa. A very weird race meeting. With a couple of fire alarms. Aidan, you were there, a couple of fire alarms unfortunately, and the weather the last 2 races turned crazy.
Yeah, just one of the weirdest meetings, and you hear some of those guys who have been to many more race meetings than me saying it was the strangest meeting they'd been to. The 2 fire alarms, obviously, it was really disappointing that behaviour of someone on track would lead them to be pushing a fire alarm. So we had the fire engines coming along twice, and then the torrential rain. The crazy thing about the fire alarms is that we went back 1 race, and that meant that Group 3 sprint, which would have been run on entirely different track conditions. It just changed everything, so that was a little bit weird. You spoke about luck. Well, it's not luck. Jason Tarn's hitting some decent numbers from last week. It was good punting, and through this 10-week period, Matt, you're doing it just about every 10-week period. You're
well, no better than Matthew Cross, who's you just
exactly.
set a relentless tempo early on.
Yep.
Thought we might be able to time our runs to catch you, but you've been uncatchable in the punting competition.
Exactly.
The first call special's been on fire.
Yeah, another one last
week. And so for
week.
those that have been watching the show, following on Twitter, following on Facebook and getting into that first call special, you are seeing a massive profit over 2018, which is thanks to the bookmakers, but also well done for getting involved in the first call special. The Quinella at $3 last week, I think paid around $2.40 on the tote.
Yeah.
With iGrain and Mongolian Marshall, who drew clear
One
to
thing
fight
that
out
bookmakers have been doing to our favour is they've been really identifying the horses that are getting the money for us, and while we're sort of making suggestions, they're sort of steering us towards those horses that are attracting the money, and they have been shortened. So normally the price that we're getting on the first call special has looked really good.
Well, iGrain a few weeks ago for the Counties Cup was a great example of that.
Exactly.
You being able to put that forward and the bookmakers taking the bait.
Yeah, giving us a placed price and the money back, and I think it closed even shorter than what you're getting money back final.
That's when insurance you are waving to the crowd when you got that price bigger than the closing tote price.
So hopefully they'll do that again for us today, Matt.
You know that they watch the show on maximum volume.
Do they? I thought they watched it on mute.
Hello.
that red signal in the bottom right that sort of goes up and up and up on those.
We'll have a chat to Thad later. Gift of Power was good last week. A horse that I did take notice of. She's really come back.
Well,
and she means business.
There aren't many horses that run 1.7 and change around a track like Awapuni. It's the new track record that she set last week. Normally at Trentham or Riccarton down the dog leg 1200, you'll see those sort of times and even faster. She was immense. She won by a big margin. The question is, how will she go right-handed? They had earmarked the Telegraph, which is still on the agenda, but now they have to look at the Group 1 Railway on New Year's Day and think that they've got to be lining up there. I think the plan, from what I understand, Aidan, is that if she draws inside, they'll start her. If she draws out, then they might consider not starting her because she does need that guidance right-handed.
Yeah, just the space that she put on those other horses, wasn't it?
And the way that Lisa Allpress is riding her, basically taking her to the extent of her limit, which is clearly a lot better than sort of restraining her and sort of half fighting her. She's got a very sort of high level over the short course.
Just
here in
before we
New Zealand.
move on as well, just some sad news overnight with the passing of a Hall of Famer in John Costello, who's obviously a doyen of racing journalists. I worked with him a little bit through Racing Hall of Fame, through selection committees and things, and obviously had a fair bit to do with him. I've got a whole lot of books on my bookshelf that John's passed on to me. He's obviously the man behind Tapestry of the Turf, which is, obviously the Bible of New Zealand turf. Galloping Greats, a couple of volumes of that. He edited the Racing Annual. Linda Jones' story, wrote the book there, and obviously he's really fondly remembered in the racing industry. Known as a wordsmith, a popular writer, a great columnist, and I did speak to his daughter, Casey Costello, before coming on the show. Said he did his final column for The Informant this week, dictated from his bed. He got to see that before he died, but certainly the tributes are coming in, pouring in for John this morning from many of his colleagues and many of those who know him as, just a great racing writer. So our thoughts with his family and with all those who knew John at a pretty sad time.
Very fitting that he is in the New Zealand Racing Hall of Fame for his work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really well said, both of you, and our thoughts go out to the Costello family. Let's get a look at the bank total updates from last week, and well, it doesn't often happen that we can all sort of get up and above the $1,000 mark with a bit of juice in hand, does it? But there's a lot of times we probably got a little bit lucky, some tactical bets.
Well, 3,000, that's a big total.
That lead that you, it must have been second week of the comp that you, or something like that, early on in the comp, you built a very big lead with a fat multi. And that margin has stayed in place. Been waiting for you to fall back in the laps of the run-on horses, and you've just been relentless.
Well, it's one of those things, when you're in form, aren't you? If you have a bad run, I could go 12 weeks without even backing a winner.
That's a long time.
Well, you run out of money.
I was going to say, you must have a decent-sized bank.
Well, should we try and make some money at Awapuni on Saturday? We've got some really good races there, a couple of features on the card. Jason, track conditions, you mentioned that they've been able to run time in there the last couple of weeks. What can we expect on Saturday?
A lot of rain overnight, and there is some rain in the forecast for tonight and early tomorrow morning. So I'm not sure whether that track will come back too much. Obviously, if that rain doesn't eventuate, and it can sort of go around Awapuni, given where that is in Palmerston North, then maybe that track will come back, but it'll be a nice enough track. It should still suit most horses.
Okay, we've got the bonus early quaddie there at Awapuni on Saturday, as well as pick 6, and we're going to take a look at the Hotel Coachman Manawatu Cup. Here is the market for it. 2,200 is the trip. Glory Days $2.60, $6 for Hinerangi, Gundown $6.50, and Hunter Pence is at $8.50. Jason, where does she sit in terms of the handicapping for you and her price? Is there any value in the 260?
Oh, it's pretty short. It is as short as you'd want to go. But again, we see a situation with a horse like Over the River that brings a high rating into the race, and Glory Days is the beneficiary because there are other horses that are lower rated that should be getting more weight of a horse like Glory Days, but isn't because of the compression and Over the River.
Well, that was the thing. Over the River was a late nomination to the race too. Wasn't among those initial nominations for this race. So what would have happened in that case? Glory Days would have been carrying 5 kilograms more at 60, and still having some of these horses on 53 at that weight. So
it's a massive benefit
she's in
for her.
Beautifully now because of the addition here of Over the River. We've got her going back as she tends to do. She's got a good barrier draw. She'll get a cozy run from there. I've got the speed coming from Samson, China Star pressing forward, Bellum getting forward as well, and just those other ones I'm just not too sure. Over the River, Hinerangi and Gundown, where they end up from those widest draws. Over the River is normally a go forward horse, but obviously you're wanting to find cover in a Cups race.
Jason, what do you make of the overall tempo with her and her position in mind? Is there enough speed to set the race up for her, or is there something that may settle handy?
There should be. I mean, as Aidan's map, there should be at least a genuine tempo there. And look, what we've seen, which is, I think, a positive thing, a couple of maps that we've presented on the show where it seems sort of obvious, connections and jockeys deciding that they don't want things to be so obvious. Like we saw with the Calais Zuzu, it looked as though it would be a map with the Baker Forsman team would dominate last week, and there are a couple of tactical changes with
we spoke about
been
that
positive.
being the Captain Cook Stakes.
That's right,
prior as well.
And the Captain Cook, you know, it looked as if it was a race devoid of speed, and there were jockeys wanting to take the initiative. This should be a genuinely run race. It's a good stake race. A lot of connections would have been targeting it, so they'll be sending their horses and putting them in the right spots.
Well, the Wanganui Cup is generally a good lead-in to the Awapuni Cup, as well as the Awapuni Cup or the Manawatu Cup prelude. We'll take a look at both of those races. First of all, back to the Wanganui Cup. Well, she was good here. Glory Days presented. She had all of the momentum coming around the turn here, Aidan, and she just put them to bed so easy.
All those arrows on the right, those 4 arrows on the right run 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, right? Now, she's come from a long way back, run the quickest last 600 of the race, and done it against the pattern. We can see 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. They were those arrows that were on speed. She's come wide, come around the back of them. She'd won the Waverley Cup by 4 1/4 lengths prior, and I thought that was just a massive run. You give her even more credit for what she's done with the tempo of the race and the way that she's able to overcome that. She's in great form. She draws beautifully. Undoubtedly the horse to beat. And I know you're finding 260 short enough, but who beats her here?
Well, certainly out of those horses that we saw in that race, you wouldn't think that they would be able to, those horses would be able to turn it around.
The one horse that I'm giving a little bit of credit to here is Samson, who gets it in with a 2.5 kilogram swing. Those other horses are getting no swing because of the way that this race is.
The compression, yeah.
Exactly. But Samson is a horse who, you forgive the miss over 3,200 metres 2 starts back, and his form's actually pretty good, and he does have tactical speed. He's not going to have to work too hard to get somewhere near the
He's
pace.
the type of horse that if he could take a spot, if Calder was able to find him in the first 4, then, we've seen him sit handy before, the tempo come out of the race and him sprint off the top and win. That's what he is capable of doing.
Well, the other thing about that race as well, they had a non-claiming apprentice on. Charlotte O'Byrne took the ride in a stakes race without a claim, and next thing they've got Andrew Calder, a senior jockey, going on. Blinkers go on as well, which is a key gear change, and this horse ran really well on the track in the Fielding Cup, 3 starts back. So I'll give Samson a bit of upside.
The only question mark for him is that the last time he won was 2017.
Yeah.
So it was the Awapuni Gold Cup. It was a good race, set weight and penalty race.
He was in really good form about that point as well.
He was, yeah. But that's going back 18 plus months, nearly 20 months.
Yeah.
And so that's the question. But off that run, there's no reason why he couldn't win again, as you mentioned. Like, he's in good form off that.
Well, the Cup prelude was Hinarangi, the horse we're going to be highlighting in this race. The Baker Forsman runner in the Christopher Grace colour. She finishes into 3rd. What do we make of Jack Star here, Jason? He's the sort of horse that generally this deep into his campaign he can hit form. Did this run give you any confidence?
Yeah, I like the run of Jack Star.
Me too.
Look, in fairness, I thought Hinarangi was an excellent run. I think her run was better. But Jack Star is just coming to nicely. He's the type of horse, if they do go genuinely throughout, he could be picking up the pieces coming centre track at the end. And also, if that centre part of Awapuni is the place to be by then, there's been, there's still racing to come on the track, but there's been a bit of racing, so the rail could well be off, so swoopers could be advantaged. But she sat wide the whole way, Hinarangi, and she fought on really nicely.
Yep.
They set up the middle stages so that, it wasn't as good as if they'd gone really hard throughout, but it was an excellent run. The run of Jack Star was very good. The run of Bellum was good. You'll see a different China Star tactically in that she missed away from the inside and there was no opportunity for Madan Singh to get out and going on her. She needs to be out and going. So the wider draw will be beneficial for her. So even if she misses, she should be able to be hunted forward, I'd expect, and work around during the race.
I did speak to Gary Vile earlier in the weekend, and just on Jack Star, obviously he was a horse who ran 3rd in that Auckland Cup and basically broke down with 200 metres of the race to go. It was just such a courageous performance that day, but I mean, he's had 17 months off the scene, so this is his 4th run back and now up to a distance that's more suitable. But Gary just thinking maybe still 1 run away, but he's still really happy with them. He's obviously happy with Rock On as well, he's been a little bit unlucky too with the way that Rock On's been going, so he's thinking that both probably more shaping towards Wellington Cup sort of time, but you're just enough in that Jack Star run, wasn't it? Great.
That's right.
Because we know what sort of courage he's got, but once again, because he's had 17 months off and then he's had a long sort of winless period as well.
Anything else to add in the race, Jason? Is there anything at double figures that the punters need to watch out for?
Look, Bellum was a good run in that race. The horse that we need to talk about is Gundown, who was disappointing at Ellerslie, but there was an excuse, suffered cardiac arrhythmia, and that explained why he dropped out at the part of the race where you thought he might be quite strong at his very best. And there's no reason why he can't be a factor bouncing back from that issue. But again, you take a horse on trust as you do every time when they bounce back from that. But
Okay. Speaking of bouncing back, bets for that race?
It's a tough one because Glory Days is just a fraction short for me, but in the end I did put a bet on her
Whoa,
and
140.
Hinirangi. Those were the two. So we've got $1,000 just as a Christmas bonus this week to spend. So we're going to start in the new year a new bank competition, and this is a $1,000 one-off. So all my bets are inflated accordingly. But two big plays on Glory Days, Hinirangi and a Quinella as well, with horse I think are good prices, Jack Star and Bellum.
Yeah, mine are inflated accordingly as well, Jason, as you'll see from this graphic coming up. I'm going to have two over 10 on Samson here. Like you say, he's a horse who does look well placed at the place. I like you. I'm pretty keen on Glory Days, but I thought Samson, just at the place money, might have been worth an inflated bet.
I love how genuine you are, Aidan. I love it.
So if that's inflated, what's that inflated from?
1/5?
One thing I will say that you returned 1,800 from your 10-week period. That was probably the most consistent, reliable set of selections over a 10-week period. You made 80%. You're 80% more on the 1,000. Like that's a massive effort.
I have sort of kind of got a formula for this now, just making those small profits. And I don't really want to go, someone says, oh, I have $1,000. I don't really want to go too far from my strategy. So that's how I'd play it under normal circumstances. I will throw in a silly bet later on just so I can add up my 1,000.
Long in vision, steady in progress is our Aidan, isn't he? And I love it. We'll be back shortly on the first call. We'll continue our previews after this.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Welcome into your Christmas edition of the First Call Moneymakers. We're going to kick things off on Boxing Day with the Uncle Remus Stakes. It features a 3-year-old in Inner Twinkling who reportedly has come back from the 2,000 guineas in fantastic order and can give some of those horses at the top end of the market a really good run for their money.
Madison County, it's Guineas territory for Madison County. Clear of Dawn Patrol and Sir Nate, and Madison County won it.
The next horse to follow over the festive season goes by the name of Monkey Shoulder. It'll start on the 27th of December at New Plymouth, and it's still a maiden but has been racing quite well, and I think will break through very shortly.
Down over on the outside, Monkey getting going, but so too Pin Me Down, pins them all down, and that's a victory. Pin Me Down will beat Monkey Shoulder.
And finally, New Year's Day. The Good Fight was so impressive at Te Rapa last week, and I'm following this horse through onto the Dunstan final. Sean Ritchie has given me a real push into the horse, so I'm sticking with the ship.
The Good Fight ranged up on the outside now. The favourite makes his play for glory. Battling away Prince Jabil and Red Cayenne, and then coming out wide Sarabande. But the Good Fight and Jason Waddell. He's a nice horse this going forward, and the Good Fight too good.
That's it for the First Call Moneymakers. A very Merry Christmas from all of us here at Trackside. Best of luck with your investments over the festive period.
I suppose, Jason, we give Emily a plug. She's done a fantastic job on the show with her money makers. She's sat in the hosting chair a couple of times. A real asset to us, isn't she?
Oh, massive.
Yep, and there'll be
to the point where I'm sort of wondering, still waiting on my 2019 contract.
There's a little Emily coming along very shortly too, so we wish her and Opie all the best for that.
Fantastic. Let's take a look now at the Kamata Park Manama 2 Challenge Stakes, featuring Windspell and Ocean Emperor up the top of the book. Basu Basu, she's been somewhat of a revelation in the last couple of months. $6.50 and Henny at $7. $2.60 Ocean Emperor. Is that a reflection of the barrier draw, do you feel, Jason?
Oh, and form, sort of at this level, he's been very good, Ocean Emperor. At Group 1 level at this stage, he's been found to be just below. That's not to say he couldn't lob himself a Group 1 win in the sort of right circumstances, but he's a very good quality Group 2, Group 3 horses. He's evidenced at Tauranga a couple of times.
Well, he only lost third on the line of that Captain Cook Stakes. He's in really good form at the moment. I've got him going forward as always. He drew barrier 1 when he won the Tauranga Stakes 2 back when he was given a peach of a ride with Lindsay Sadley that day, and he does map to get this trail again. I was thinking, who's the horse he's going to go in front of? I think it's Southern Icon. If not, it's Lucy and Rio. So he will get cover. He should get the trail here. Contessa Vanessa to press forward and be somewhere near handy, and you've got those horses such as Henny and Bisu go back. There's a possibility that Shadow's Cast could be a speed factor in the race, did you think, Jason?
Definitely from the draw. I think there's a good chance that that's the case. Like the 1400 for Shadow's Cast as well, I get the feeling that's probably his optimum distance.
He does need to improve a little bit though. His form hasn't been, you know, really convincing in recent starts. So has it? We know there's a better Shadow's Cast, and there's the Copeland's Bakery's winning Shadow's Cast that we're not seeing in recent starts.
Yeah, I think a couple of circumstantial things. One, maybe the off track before the Copelands and the lead up to that, and I know he's sort of dead heated in the Copelands, but I get the feeling that 14 he's just that bit sharper.
More of his guy, yeah.
And I say that knowing that sort of Mark Olligan has thought that maybe 2000 would be his go in time. I mean, he's a 6-year-old now, but yeah, I just wonder like sort of what his best trip is, and I reckon it's 14. But if Mark steps him up over ground and he proves himself, well then he's the best. He's a trainer. I'm not.
Okay, well, one jockey who's certainly informed is Jason Waddell, and he takes the ride aboard Windspell. Would you believe this was just his 3rd career win? Last time out, such a consistent galloper, Jason. He deserved to win this. He wound up at the 200, and good to see that he's still got that turn of foot there.
Yep, and he's put his head down, importantly, to win the race under a perfect Jason Waddell ride. So in the end, he's won that by half a length and sort of going away in many respects.
Do you think a confidence boost for him as well, winning that race? He's a 5-year-old entire now, and as I said, he'd only won 3 of 29. He's only won 3 of 29. Do you take that into account with Colts?
I'd say you would, for sure. The positive in line with that as well is that Beefeater has gone out and won since, Slimline behind has won since. So he's beaten horses that are in reasonable form in their own right. So it was a good performance from Windspell, and he's very much suited by Weight for Age. And yeah, just where he gets to in the running, he's got a reasonable draw. So Jason Waddell, I'm sure, will be doing his maps, and I reckon he'll be aiming for the 1-1 ideally, if he can find sort of the 1-1. Whether he's quite sharp enough over 14 to find that remains to be seen.
He drew barrier 4 in the Livermore Classic and ended up 8th. This is going to be run at surely a quicker speed than a 2,000 metre Group 1. This 1,400 metre Weight for Age race. So I'd be a bit dubious of him getting that handy, but I'm sure that's what he'll aim for. And that is the thing, this horse was Group 1 placed only 3 starts back, and he's in winning form. Still, you look at that, he's still only winning once in every 10 starts, so he's due another failure.
So it's interesting sort of when Windspell and Ocean Emperor met in the first 2 legs of the Hawke's Bay Triple Crown, there wasn't much separating them over 1,400 metres. I think Windspell led up that day, was ridden quite positively, and then in the second leg, Windspell had Ocean Emperor covered. So I'm not sure that there's too much between them.
Okay, there is in the price. Does that mean that you'd be willing to back a horse like Windspell before we move on?
I think there are others that are quite backable. I don't think it's as simple as just the top 2, even though their performance ratings or handicap ratings anyway suggest that they're the ones to beat. But I think there are a couple of others that are worth speccing actually. Well,
let's have a look at Lucy and Rio. We're going to take you back to Trentham last at time out. The daughter of Captain Rio. She's 7 now, and speaking of turn of foot and the legs, it's good to see she's still got it too. She's
always had the ability. She's often done things wrong in her races. This stage she found the front, relaxed and found a kick. They didn't go hard. Contessa Vanessa Aiden was a pretty good performance in behind, and maybe her form's a bit underrated.
Yeah, exactly. She wound up late, but by this stage it was already gone. It turned into a sit sprint, which didn't suit her. She comes in, I think, a couple of kilograms better than Lucy and Rio, and obviously she'll be sharper for that run. The extra 100 metres, I don't know. It's not really a tangible sort of a real form factor in this, but we know she's good enough. She's Group 1 placed. She had no luck in those 2 preceding runs. Was freshened up into that, and it was a good performance. So I think she's a really a strong factor in the race. I thought she was the main danger to Ocean Emperor.
She's got a lot of speed. Remember at Ruakaka when Dance led them up, Contessa Vanessa sat outside. There's a half head or a nose between them on the line when it was just a sprint home again. So she really does have that ping. So if she gets that run, there's no reason why Contessa Vanessa couldn't fight it out for sure. Okay, Ocean Emperor comes out of Trentham, and we're going to take in this race. Dance was so fantastic when winning Ocean Emperor. He kicked on well for 4th, and Dolcetto only beaten 7 lengths too. It was a game effort from Ocean Emperor because the draw meant that he had to work, and we know what Gary Hennessy has said on multiple occasions about the horse needing cover. No knock on Rosie Myers' ride because the draw dictated the trip. I thought her ride was very good. Exactly. Yeah. So it was that cost it the race. Now Dolcetto, you would have seen at the 300, like here, got squeezed out the back. Actually, it happened just before that head-on, but got squeezed out the back. And look, he actually picked up, and I think maybe Jason was a fraction surprised. He was like, the horse isn't given it away when he's entitled to. So he gave him another squeeze, and he actually wasn't too bad to the line.
Even there, he's in behind
He's
horses.
well beaten.
But like the thing is, he just never got to go.
Exactly.
Absolutely no
the
chance.
The material
in the
part
race.
of the race was when he got.
Yeah, he's in behind Monakia, who's
That's
just
right.
coming back on his lap. Jason's gone out, still no runs, gone wider, and in the meantime, our Aberdeen was actually an eye-catcher in the race, has gone out wide as well.
And Parks held his line. Jonathan Parks was very strong in holding his line on
Darscape
Princess, even though she wasn't going anywhere, but held the line enough that he couldn't get that run. So. Look,
definitely a full-go run from Dolcetto.
I'll say.
Yeah.
And he comes back to Awapuni.
Will the track be wet enough
for
him?
the rain hangs around...
That is the thing. He's a tough and wet going.
And he's drawn a position which could be fine.
Yeah.
Like, drawn out wide by that time could be okay.
Yeah.
So I thought he's worth speaking.
The other horse, Bisu, was beaten in that Feliz Mezzacallo Zuzu last week. Spoke to Nigel Tyler this morning, and he said 1,600 metres is probably just a touch beyond her, but she is in as good a form as she was leading into the Auckland Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes, which she won at Group 2 for these Mares Weight for Age. So takes on the boys here, but he feels she's going just as well and deserves a crack in this race. So it's a race with a fair bit of depth, deserving of top billing, I think, for the weekend, even though we've put the Medal 2 Cup on as our lead. But I think this is a decent old race. My bets in the race, I'm going to go Contessa Vanessa on an each-way basis. I think Ocean Emperor is the horse to beat, but I'm going to just play the better price around 12s at the moment on Contessa Vanessa.
Yeah, the two prices that I was interested in were the price around Dolcetto and also Bizu. She's in super form.
Yeah.
She ran home as well as Lizzie Lamore in the Callows. I know there's only a length and a half over the first 6 or something like that. But Dolcetto and Bizu are the two main plays. And I had a Saver Quinella with
nice
Ocean Emperor and Windspell.
Saver, yeah, I like it.
With those two runners.
Yeah.
So
it's giving you almost a bit of an each way on those two horses, isn't
unless Contessa Vanessa finishes second and Ocean Emperor wins, and a whole good of It's like zeros. But I thought the win price, I really liked Dolcetto. I know sometimes you can fall into the trap of a horse is unlucky and you just overly promote it. He's still got to get to the level that's good enough to win the race, but I think he can.
Do you know what really put me off on him for this race is the wide draw? The wide draw is just because he's a go-forward horse, and like we saw there, he took up a position, was unlucky, but where he finds... He loves Awapuni.
Yes.
He's been there 5 times with 4 wins in a minor placing, and he's a good horse as well, well-suited to Weight for Age, but the draw really put me off, and once again, we put our faith in Jason Waddell as we did with Physical Fantasy, even though it was a bit of a tough watch last week.
What swung me is the fact that there was some rain around. So that rain's a real positive for him, and probably not such a positive for maybe a wind spell. And that I did roll the dice that maybe 10 wouldn't be so bad at that point of the program at Awapuni. They hinted that they were swooping at the back end of last week's program. And so you'd expect that to continue.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, we've got pick 6 on Saturday at Awapuni, and the first leg features a $1.50 shot. You might get away with just taking her or more Wonder as well. Great to see her back to the races, Aidan.
She's yet to miss a placing so far, and that includes the start of Group 1 company, so she's very high class. Maybe she was just a shade disappointing. Did we have too high expectations of her last time out? And, I think she was in the end beaten by maybe a superior filly.
Was she just too classy for the mile?
Don't know. There's a few questions to be answered, obviously, but I expect her to be very competitive.
It's a pretty cheeky early market from bookmakers, and I did get a text from Stephen Hunt saying that he's listening, so we'll be a little bit careful. But
Go on, put the boot in.
Between the top two, they've very much said it's a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
They're running 107% between Expression and More Wonder, which I can understand. But there are 4 other runners, so they're basically just saying, you pick between Expression and More Wonder, we're making it a head-to-head race.
So in that case, you really have to pick between them now. You can't play them both. You can't Dutch the pair.
Or you Dutch, you lose.
Yeah.
So you spend 107 to make 100. That's no good.
I like that. Okay, Expression, we're taking you back to Riccarton Park. We're having a look at her run in the 1,000 guineas. Media Sensation, Valele. Gee, there's some quality fillies in here. And Jason, to be fair to her, she stuck on well enough. It wasn't the easiest race in terms of the way that conditions were and how it unfolded.
I could sense Guy Lowry's disappointment, though, after the race, because sort of before the race he had the expectation that this filly would win a Group 1 over, the trip. And he was hopeful rather than confident that he'd get the 16, or she'd get the 1,600 metres for them. And
she never lost ground though.
But you'd have to say she didn't, because they didn't go hard. She got into a spot where she maybe got a fraction keen, but really Samantha Collett positioned her perfectly for the race. If she got a strong 16, I would have expected her to be able to sprint with those two that were just one pair or pair and a half in front of her, and she didn't. So 1400's good. I would suggest.
She was brilliant in the start before, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the Barneswood Farm at Ashburton, she was just
absolutely
absolutely superb.
Yeah.
So she's high class. She's going to take some beating. It's just more wonders.
But it's all expectation, isn't it? You know, like you go into that race. Guy Lowry had the expectation that he had a Group 1 filly that he wanted to win a Group 1 race with. He wasn't sure whether she'd get 1600. So it's not a knock on her as such, but it's just you peg that expectation high. Whereas, you know, you have another horse in the race that's 50 to 1 and you hope that you might get a Group 1 third.
Well, there's no Group 1 for 3-year-olds below 1600 metres.
That's right. So this is a prep for the Levin Classic, and that's the race that he's going to, that Grant Cullen and Guy Lowry are going to aim her towards. So she has been freshened and she's not going to be wound down fully for this.
Do you think she wouldn't need to be though, would she?
I reckon More Wonder will give her a race. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I'm not surprised that bookmakers have singled them out, but his run in the 2000 Guineas was very, very good. He's run sectionals, not dissimilar to Madison County at various times throughout his career. He's not, I mean, he's got a trick or two because he missed it in the 2000 Guineas before this, and he doesn't look like a completely straightforward ride, does he? But he's got the one man in the Central Districts that is riding as strong and as good as anyone in the region, in Jonathan Parks.
And he knows him, as we're seeing from this video. He was aboard for this one, knows a few of the tricks and things about him, but yeah, he looks very good.
I think a slowly run 1400 might suit Expression, and if there is a little bit of a spurt of tempo, that will probably suit More Wonder. I think she's probably just a bit more brilliant than him, but he can really roll a 600, whereas she's got a brilliant 200 and then a decent sort of 400 or 500 metre sprint.
Yeah, so the way the market is, unless you are clear on one or the other, you really can't play it. So for me, I was favouring Expression, but I couldn't play it.
Yeah, I couldn't say that $1.50 was value. 240 was right on the mark that I marked More Wonder, so he'd be my top selection on that.
Are you playing him?
No. But he's sort of the top pick. But
none of the 1,000 goes on.
No, even though Expression I've marked shorter, like the relative prices are more compressed than what the bookmakers have. But they're both quality 3-year-olds that I'm sure the club are happy to have on their program.
If Expression were to drift, Jason, say it got to $1.60, would you back her then?
Oh, look, to 100%, I marked them $2.40 and $2. So I actually gave a little bit of percentage to those other runners, even though, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's when you're working to 100%, you're bound by it. So
no right or wrong in how you put your markets up. So no bets for either of you?
No.
As Jimmy Jakes would say, no more bets. Thank you. We'll be back after this here on The First Call.
When you first took my hand on a cold Christmas Eve, you promised me Broadway was waiting for me. You were handsome.
You were pretty queen of New York City when the band
finished
finished.
playing. They held up.
We're going down, around, and sugar we're going down swinging. I'll be your number one with a bullet. A loaded gun, complex, getting bullet. We're going.
Big timers out there. Jake Bayliss is there, so they look as though they're under starters' orders. Good luck to all the contestants and the stables. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. Started ready. It goes up. They're off. Jake Bayliss made a flyer out wide. Stephanie Turney stable just in front, though. Witherly's coming through. Look at Tiakau all over the place like a drunken sailor. He's fallen, Tiakau. And when Lumion has a chance for Stephanie Turney, I think, and the club colours will win it. Wexford will be second.
Well, Team Tiakau tried to do the Des du Jour halfway down. What about the handicapper? Handicapper wants to maybe find another job because they were starting all on a line. I just don't know how that works out.
No, I don't know either.
Wait for age
Was it
sprint.
Meta, was it?
Wait for age sprint.
Oh, right.
Find out the best at level
I
weights.
think we might have to run the running races as handicaps next time. Anyway, let's carry on to another
Who
handicap.
first call running race?
Oh, not me. I wouldn't even take part. I wouldn't be that stupid.
Probably Stu Lang.
Yeah,
He's
you
pretty
blow your
quick.
Achilles.
It would have to be downhill over maybe 5 metres.
I'd roll all right. Shall we take a look at Te Rapa? Let's do that. 1600 is the trip for the feature there on Saturday. Chance to dance. We'll be running on a dead forward track. I suppose the thing about these races, Aidan, they make it a little bit tricky in terms of betting because we've got horses in here who want further we've got horses who like 1600 that may be graded a little bit lower, so that's where we kind of get tricky, don't we?
Oh, the other thing is it's only a matter of sort of 4 or 5 days before we got Boxing Day races, so there's decent money up for grabs on a big day. So there are options aplenty for trainers in the north. So it's an interesting meeting, and also just how the rain that's about affects Te Rapa as well. Be interesting in the next sort of 24 hours.
Let's take a look at the market for the third on the card from Te Rapa. On Saturday, it is the Lodge City Rental 1600, chance to dance $4.20, 5.80 Farm Boy, Athena Baby 5s, Elusive Treasure 4.50, and the Mitigator $3.10. What did you make of the market firstly, Aidan?
Well, again, we're sort of talking about Boxing Day. I see Farm Boy was in the nominations of Boxing Day. Those fields have just come out, so I'm just not too sure whether he's been accepted for Boxing Day or not. The market's really interesting, isn't it? The Mitigator's he's loving that, so we're just hearing through that he's out of Boxing Day, so running here. The Mitigator's the horse who's likely to get the soft lead here. Elusive Treasure's been good, and obviously there's real respect about Chance to Dance, Farm Boy and Athena Baby as well. To mine, I thought it was a bit more of a 3-horse race. I know, speaking to Jason earlier on, he had it pretty much as a 5-horse race as well.
Where have you got them all mapped, Aidan?
Well, the Mitigator has a go-forward horse. Now, they've been looking at some point trying to find him some cover, but obviously just the way it worked, he was caught wide last time out, had to press forward, and he's so good, he's just able to relax on the speed and then quicken. So once again, he's just perfectly placed the way that this race is going to pan out. I thought Elusive Treasure was terrific last time out. Farm Boy's coming in, he's working into it nicely, and Chance to Dance does have good tactical speed as well, so they could probably position a little bit closer, but I can't see anything really challenging the Mitigator for the speed here, and because of that, he's going to be awfully hard to beat.
Here's Chance to Dance running third at his last start behind Beefeater Jason Tam. We've mentioned this form already in our preview of Awapuni. Looks pretty strong.
Yeah, Chance to Dance has run well fresh, got a good run on the speed, and would be improved for sure having had this run. So another 1600 metre race with the 4 kilo claim comes in okay. So look, if Chance to Dance is able to potentially trail the Mitigator, then you could see him finishing right there, and maybe they'll be wanting it to challenge the Mitigator for the lead. Now, just note the Mitigator has drawn 20 for the Dunstan Feeds Championship final on Boxing Day.
I think he can back up.
So they'll be looking to back up, I'd assume, because of the stake of the race. But look, he just runs the right sort of race for this event. So I'd expect, that he really should be bouncing to the lead, being rated as Sean Mackay has been rating him to win 3 out of his last 4 starts, rating him similarly. And in behind him are sort of horses that are sort of been battling around, they're sort of aged, and I just think as the fresh up-and-coming horse, he should be able to find the front and skip off the top and win the race. So I think he's the bet of the weekend for me, the Mitigator.
What price did you mark him?
I know that at their very best, Chance to Dance, Athena Baby, Farm Boy, Elusive Treasure, they've done better things than him. But I can't say that any of them are at their best at the moment.
What price did you mark the Mitigator?
I've got him at $2.50 on the proviso that he just controls it. Sean Mackay controls it from the front, and he runs quickly enough off the top. I know he's maybe a little bit out of the handicaps, but I'm prepared to say that he's got that sort of upside that he can win that. And with a bit of luck, he'll be competitive in the final, the Dunstan Championship.
It's
final.
exactly the way I saw it as well. He's in great form. He's a really emerging, progressive horse who's just well placed in a race like this. And to be fair, in a 6-horse race where he's not going to have to do it too hard, it's not going to take too much out of him if they do decide to back up on Boxing Day anyhow. I did think that maybe one horse was in the best form of his career, and that's Elusive Treasure. We know he's capable of running like a 5th in a BDO group sprint weight for age level, so that's it. That's his level. Although it was, it wasn't a field with great depth that day, but I thought he was in really well. He's run home in a similar last 600 to Farm Boy, who was eye-catching last time out, yet he's in 4.5 kilograms better here. I just thought he was maybe the danger if there was one to the Mitigator.
I don't disagree with that. He is in very well. He is in very well in the weights and conditions of the race. A Cherry-Oda Martin Cruz as well. He sort of posted on his Facebook page he's involved in quite a nasty accident that had him in hospital with a couple of broken ribs, a punctured lung. So he's on the road to recovery. And I think a situation where he's leading horses back from the Cambridge track, and one of them spooked at a passing car that led to a very nasty incident. So
nice.
All the best to you, Martin, in your recovery. By all accounts, is
don't want to be
okay,
sneezing when you've got broken ribs, I can assure you of that.
No jokes.
Never had a broken rib, but it doesn't sound like it will be very pleasant. Okay, so that wraps up our racing preview. We've got a little bit of a special segment, I suppose, for you. But we're going to share our highlights of the year before we head into Dan O'Sullivan and get all of our bets sorted for what is our last show of the year. Jason, it's been in and out, up and down 12 months, as each and every year is for everybody, but we want to look at the positive, and is there one or two horses that stand out?
Look, the good thing about finding a highlight is that it's hard, because from a thoroughbred racing perspective, there have been numerous highlights. You know, Winks winning her 4th Cox Plate, Aaron Kudu and what he managed to do on Des de Jure. Like, for me, internationally, the resurgence of some or the rise of some real stars was excellent. I was very, very fortunate to be on track to witness Armand I do this in the Japan Cup, a rising 3-year-old filly. Just a brilliant performance, 2:20.6. She lowered the 2400 metre track record. A track record that was held by Horlicks, who went 2:22.2 in 1989 and had Horlicks revered and still has her revered for beating sort of local favourite Guricap. And now New Zealand bred Beauty Generation making it back-to-back mile wins in the hands of Zach Purton and what was as easier Hong Kong mile win as you can imagine. So bred here, obviously campaigned and bought to race in Australia before going to Hong Kong, and now he is rated the best miler in the world, Beauty Generation. We hope that he travels. I don't know that he will, because there's such good prize money in Hong Kong and connections don't like to travel. We sort of hope that he'd go to Dubai for the turf over 1800, but I reckon that's 50-50 at best.
Your highlight, Aidan?
I'm going to earn some brownie points, hopefully, with not only the people in the south, but also with the jumps racing fraternity, because I think my highlights coming from Grand National time, and one of my favourite horses, as you well know, is this horse, Jack Frost. I thought his performance to win the Grand National hurdles was outstanding. He's put away a field of high-quality hurdlers with consummate ease, and he'd been building towards this. It was a great preparation and a pretty popular win. One of my favourites, and I was rapt to see him do this in such style.
Well, then he went to Te Aroha, remember, and he was, what did he put up, about 20, 25 lengths off the leader with a lap to go. I remember saying to Brendan Popper, who was on course, he said, I don't think he can win, can he? Yeah. But you're one man who I know wouldn't have given up on him.
I'm just a fan of him, and we've been with him right through.
Was he your most profitable horse this year? Because you did label him early. I know one of those earlier rides wasn't sort of the prettiest ride to watch, but since then everything was brilliant with Higgins and also Lammas.
Yeah, so he's been terrific, and I hope he sort of comes back and we can say the same sort of thing from him next year. He's put up his hand as an early contender for Jumps Horse of the Year.
Well, the only problem that he's probably going to run into is weight, isn't it?
Is.
With his
How about you, Matt? What's your highlight?
I think the highlight for me as a whole, as a picture for thoroughbred racing, was Te Akau Shark. Not just this win in the Copelands, but the entire story around him, and I think he's a horse that New Zealand thoroughbred racing needs, and us as a crew, as trackside with New Zealand thoroughbred racing, have a chance to promote him and what he could potentially go and do in Australia, and being on course when he won the Copelands and the feel around him, getting to see him in the flesh. As
he has created a real buzz.
He's a serious racehorse, and I believe he's on the pathway to big things, and I wish Team Te Akau all the best. And what a great story behind him too. He's just what we need, I think.
Well, you know what? He could be the type of horse that the next time, well, the only time you get to see him in the flesh here is by hunting down when he first trials in New Zealand, because there's every chance he won't race here next year. And that's symptomatic of how good he is, the esteem that he is, and the prize money in Australia, and also the lack of suitable lead-ups here before they go. So look, maybe there'll be a race that they
the one race that would suit him would be the BDO Group Sprint, but it's at weight for age. You want to get him into Australia at the bottom of the handicap.
That's right.
Before those rich handicap races.
If you're
so there's no point
Doncaster,
in risking a weight for age when that might just sort of push him up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if he won that, then he's
weight for age. Obviously, normally you sort of don't re-handicap too much for weight for age wins, but he is a horse who's not that high.
But wherever he trials, I'm hoping that he will trial at least once before he goes to Australia. Then it'll be worthwhile maybe getting to Te Teko or Matamata or
and he may
wherever
well
it
be
is.
at one of those Te Rapa meetings as an exhibition gallop or
And
something.
that'd be
as well.
fantastic, just to get to see him, because he'll be creating headlines. When you win like that and you go to Australia and you're being discussed over there as being a contender in those miles, then you know you're pretty serious.
I hope to you at home you can take great pleasure in seeing what we can do as a group in New Zealand with thoroughbred racing, seeing Beauty Generation becoming one of the best milers in the world in Hong Kong, as well as Te Akau Shark. All the best to everyone over Christmas with their endeavours, and we hope that your highlight of the year was a good one too. Let's take a look at some markets for Boxing Day, gentlemen. We've got good racing out of Ellerslie. We've got the fields for them. There's a Beale Classic first of all. We're going to take a look at the field for that. John Snow, St Emilion from the Baker Forsman team, Authentic Paddy, the CD visitor, Mishka Mushka Tiptronic, who I believe had a gallop at Matamata during the week. Lizzie Lamore, great to see her back for the Zabeel Classic. Nicolita Consensus, piece of cake.
Well,
Dan's Dance.
The story about this is that Dan's Dance has drawn 11, which is obviously makes it very tricky for Opie Bosson, who'll ride, although Opie was excellent when he won the Captain Cook on her, and as long as there's genuine tempo, which there looks like there should be, then she should be able to finish into it. Lizzie Lamore has drawn 3, which means that you'd expect she should be able to get one of the runs of the race, with stablemates John Snow and St Emilion probably being ridden forward. She should be able to slot in with Authentic Paddy there as well, and just get that nice run behind the speed.
Yeah, really strong hand for Murray Baker and Andrew Forsman with 4 runners in the race, and it really does just sort of show how potent they've been in these type of races as well. Authentic Paddy was terrific in the Captain Cook Stakes. Geez, he's an old warrior, isn't he?
I hope that is run genuinely though, because you know you've got 3 or 4 horses there that can go forward. But sometimes if you find your positions early, then the pace with those front runners have found their spots, and the
Beale Classic is notorious for
Exactly.
running slowly too. So
stop-start, very stop-start.
What about the 8 carat Cambridge stud once again behind this for the 3-year-old fillies over 1600 this year's media sensation? Any reason why she won't be winning, Jason?
It must be very cool in the morning if you've sort of got into the breeding of a horse or bought a horse with a view to breeding, knowing that it's got that Group 1 by its name, as you know, Sarah Green and
That'd make it easier, wouldn't it?
Burns DeVore, you know, wake up with media sensation, and the Williams as well, having its job done in the initial stages. Group 1 as a 3-year-old, bang. And she's going to be a horse to beat, but again, she's coming back from that, and there's a star called Queen of Diamonds who was excellent winning last week, winning the Eulogy. Now, very much was a sprint home. Sort of every jockey behind Lisa Allpress and Queen of Diamonds sort of let the leaders get away with it. But that turn of foot that she showed was not dissimilar.
she might be quite special.
Well, to Gift of Power. Gift of Power over the 1200 metres. She cut out a similar last 600 to her. Okay, it was over 1550, and it showed how little gallop they went early. But that's a high-class turn of foot. And I think that Queen of Diamonds, given she had that run last week on Boxing Day, can potentially roll media sensation.
Yeah.
Hallmark studs, they are behind the open handicap over 1200 for the sprinters, and here is the fields. Pretty even sort of a lot. Sort of Osman, interesting to see him in there, runner number 5. It'll be nice to see him come back and show his best form, passing shot after his campaign. South Indecision, Yearn, getting back to the 1200, Santa Monica, Cinematic. Decent field here, Jason, and then we get down to Spring Heat and She's a Thief.
Sort of Osman is the horse that's going to create a lot of interest. Aidan, would it be fair to say that it might dictate whether they choose to push on to New Year's Day?
Oh, I think the idea is this is his race. They're basically already ruled out the railway, from my understanding. Right. Opie Boston's taking the ride at 55 kilograms, so I guess that's some indication. But at this stage, the understanding that I've got is that they won't be going on to the railway.
Okay.
But obviously, you come out and win this, you qualify, and he's still in the railway nomination. So obviously, Te Akau also got Melody Bell, who is the reigning favourite and undoubtedly the horse to beat in the railway.
That railway is shaping up super, isn't it? Like speaking about New Year's
Bostonian
Day.
Gallop terrific at the races last week at Te Rapa.
And nice pieces from trackside to go to Ellerslie to capture that gallop, to get the thoughts of Tony Pike. It really does build some nice momentum into sort of the Christmas carnival there, because Melody Bell, while she's the headline horse of the race, it's not just a one-horse railway, is it?
Yeah.
Because of a horse like Bostonian.
And Team Rogerson, could have 3 in there, couldn't they? With Ferrando, Volks Lightning, who ran 3rd in the race last year, and Gift of Power as well. So yeah, there's a hand there.
And speedsters. Like you like having those front-running horses that can add interest to these races.
Yeah.
Coey's Telegraph just springs to mind as well. How big he was.
Yeah.
Well, another one.
Retired during the year.
Probably the best beaten run of any performance of the year, but he did run second. Let's not take anything away from the winner, who was pretty good in the race too.
And Enzo's lad will be lining up in the railway by all accounts, right?
He's still in the field anyway.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see him there.
I assume that given this preparation that they won't be shying away from a Group 1 target.
Yep. Okay, best bets this week, Jason. You can start.
What did I say? The Mitigator. Race number 3 at Te Rapa. I think that with Positive Intent, Sean Mackay can find the front, rate him, and he can win.
I'm going to the first as well, and having a look at Paisley Park, who's unbeaten in 2 so far, was a 7 1/4 length debut winner. Went to the trials in November in Regine with a very good win. Came from last to win. The second horse was Bridal Veil, who won at Matamata the other day, and ran 7 lengths faster than the rating 72 on the day. So against the pattern of the race, geez, I really thought there was a touch of class about the performance. Mac, for you?
I think Zach Brown geared his second win at Start 18 in race number 5 at Awapuni on Saturday.
What price?
Don't know.
Must be double figures, aren't you?
Don't really care.
He's a best bet.
Zach Brown.
Do you?
Yeah, 3 kilos off his back. Loved his run last time. I'm always a fan of horses dropping back a couple of 100 metres.
It's a good run last start, no doubt.
It's really good. So willing to risk it. See if we can get something into the Christmas fund for you here on the last show of the First Call for this year. Stay with us. We've got Dan O'Sullivan, a man that does know what he's talking about Australian racing.
What are you saying?
That wasn't a dig. That wasn't a dig at all. Stay with us.
I'm calling Emily. She's coming back.
Yeah.
Make it simple because we're simple people. How do we back a winner? What's your best for the weekend?
Well, I think the best is over at Ascot. We're just talking about Arcadia Queen, and I really like her full brother, Arcadia Prince.
Arcadia Prince starting to cut them down. He's flying. Arcadia Prince goes home 2-1.
The special for the weekend, Thaddeus is unable to join us, gentlemen, is a Quinella special. And we're talking about Deja Vu, whether it's Deja Who this time in the Waikato Cup. High grade Mongolian Marshal.
Mongolian Marshal and high grade, and then 5 to midnight, but it's the Marshal. Mongolian Marshal wins the Waikato Cup.
Only a couple of minutes left on the show here on the First Call for 2018. It's been lovely to be with you, as it has to have been able to have Dan O'Sullivan on the show for the last couple of months. He's been an asset to the team. Dan, good morning. Welcome back. Have you found a couple of winners for us this weekend?
Yeah, look, hopefully we can finish off the year in good style. From the best bets across the country on Saturday, we've gone to Ascot after the success of last week. Race 3, number 1, Angelic Ruler. This is, I think, a very promising filly on the way up. She was super impressive, winning over 1,200 last Saturday, so she comes here on the quick backup. She settled back and unleashed a very powerful finish to win impressively. It was a particularly strong overall rating that's clearly the best in this field, and the most appealing thing about her is that she's got plenty of upside, especially going up to 1,400 in this race, which was actually the distance she recorded her peak performance at last preparation. So I think she's a very promising horse on the way up, and she's destined for much better things in 2019 than a BM63 race that we've got here. So at 260, I think she's a really appealing bet. The other one, we go to Morfettville, race 5, number 4, Civil Disobedience, is taken over there from Victoria by Darren Weir. Off a nice first up run over 1,600 where he got a long way back. He was poorly suited by slow speed, but sprinted some really sharp sectionals to just be beaten a couple of lengths. And we know that Darren Weir horses typically are underdone first up, so I expect him to improve. And what I particularly like here is that in the small field, he's going to be a few lengths closer than what we normally see. And in a moderately run race, I think his ability to sustain a really fast sprint makes him exceptionally hard to beat in this race. And he's around 240, 250, and I think that's a really nice bet in a field of 6. So that'd be my 2 for tomorrow. And as I said, hopefully we can finish the year well.
Nice, Dan. Yeah, Civil Disobedience, obviously very familiar to our New Zealand viewers after coming over for the New Zealand Derby. So looking forward to that. Hey, Dan, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. As I said before, you've been a great asset, and thanks so much for all of the many winners.
Oh, yeah, it's a pleasure, and all the best to all the punters as well.
There we go, Dan O'Sullivan. You can jump on Twitter and give Dan a follow at TRB Horse Racing, and he puts up some really interesting articles just there, as well as a couple of winners too. Speaking of winners, let's get to Petone. Hello, Thad. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, good morning, Matthew, to you and your viewers. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I heard a little whisper that my $3 around that Quinella last week was poo-pooed as a price at the time. I hope you enjoyed the $2.30 on the tote, gents.
I love that I wasn't there, and I just know that none of this heat's being thrown at me, Thad. It's all at the table.
No, it's a fair call. It is a fair call, but those that trusted you and followed you, and they filled up, $3 being a lot better than the $2.30 on close.
Busy time. Sorry, Thad. Busy time coming up for you guys, Thad, with plenty of racing over the next few days. Just in terms of Boxing Day, do we know when we'll be expecting those markets to be out?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 5 feature races there at Ellerslie which will be available this afternoon. Matt, the guys are working on them right now, so I would expect them to be out by around about 1 o'clock at the sort of around that time, but they'll certainly be available this afternoon. The remainder of the Boxing Day undercard at Ellerslie will open Saturday afternoon. So the 5 feature races will be out this afternoon. Obviously, Dan's Dance, and obviously Media Sensation sort of hitting those top 2 markets, you would think. So working on them as we speak, Matthew.
OK, Thad, we are racing at Awapuni in Te Rapa on Saturday. Across both meetings, is there anything of significance that the punters at home need to know?
Probably Jessie G's the one in race number 8, Matt. Lincoln Raider managed to just get over the top of it. There was a lot of money, long odds for Jessie G. I think it was back from around 21 into around 12, and just got knocked off by what looks a very, very promising horse, and I'm sure Aidan will attest to that, Lincoln Raider. So $7 into 6 Jessie G. They're thinking Jessie G can go one better, but obviously Glory Days in the Manawatu Cup is all the rage. People were suggesting $2.80 was too short. We've already had $5,000 at $2.80. It's now $2.60, and pretty much one-way traffic in the Manawatu Cup.
Anything nice to say to Thad, gentlemen?
We've got all these things nice to Thad. He's been an integral part of our show this year, and well, he gave us a bit of an uppercut on the Quinella. I'm sure he'll have something nice for us this week.
Well, the good thing about that uppercut is it's him who's still hurting, because ultimately the bet's won and they've had to pay out on it. But no, nothing but praise for what you've delivered for us, Thad, over the last 12 months particularly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure.
That beard could have a little bit of white in it, and he could have called him Santa.
Well, they've basically been giving some of their bonus away. I reckon we're in the green on the first call specials, and I don't think therefore they're in the green, they're in the red.
Just ignore them, Thad. You and I, we can have our own wee show here. What have you got as a special for me this week?
1 for Aidan this week, gentlemen. Contessa Vanessa, he asked for it, he's got it. Contessa Vanessa, refund 2nd or 3rd in the Manawatu Challenge Stakes, I should say. $8.50, currently $12. $8.50 if she runs 2nd or 3rd. We'll refund your money. Aidan's Army can get involved here on the first call special, option 1, selection 1, till 5 o'clock tonight.
In all seriousness though, Thad, we do appreciate all of the hard work that you put in each and every week coming on the show, and you have looked after us with the specials. To you and the family, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and to you and yours, Matt, and yeah, pleasure to be here, boys, as always.
There we go, Thad Taylor, one of the kind gentlemen of the sport, isn't it? Great to have him on.
Tell you what, Aidan,
looked after us.
That's
Exactly.
a hint of the eye grains there.
I want to take 100 off my big bet if the graphic guys listening, and we'll have 100 on that special of my 1,000, because I think Thad's probably bringing us into a night, especially the insurance factor around this horse. So yeah, I'll take 100 of that.
Okay, bank bets, Jason Tan. You can start us away with all of your graphics.
More graphics. Yes. So here we go. You can go to
inflated prices.
Inflated prices. The Punters Lounge on the TAB website. So the mitigator, the bet of the weekend, Sword and Stone. Now it's drawn wide, so I'm not 100% sure whether the Brennan stable will start Sword and Stone. But it's priced up at $6.80 and $2.50 with bookmakers. I think that's a great each way. I really like the way he's trialled. Love Light, also a good price. At Awapuni, what a smash in race 1. 140 win in Glory Days, and Hinirangi with the Quinella there, and also the Challenge Stakes with Dolcetto and Bisou Bisou. 50 win and Roll the Gold and De Gaulle. Now, I think I'm going against you, Aidan, in race number 8 there, and against the money that Thad has signalled with Jessie G. So, anyway, spending 1,000, that's what we've been given.
Yep, I'm with Thad and the money that's coming. I do like Jessie G, and so I've got an each way price there, each way on Contessa Vanessa as we work back upwards. Samson, Chiji Spirit. I was really impressed by this 2-year-old. The trial is enormous. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. That is a really intriguing race. Paisley Park, my best at Tarapa, along with Patsy's Lass. I thought was a really nice horse. Sectionally 2 starts back was enormous. There we go. I'm going to take $100 of the option 1. I'm going to have to bring my special place bet down from Ashburton today to $748 a place on Morweka. Matthew Cameron for Terry Ray.
Well, our graphics operator Blake has nearly had the perfect show. You gave him an opportunity to make a mistake. Looks like he's nailed that.
Well done to Blake.
10 out of 10 to him and everybody in the control room for the last 12 months of their work putting up with us. Hasn't been easy with all of the bank bets.
We've had to put up with them too, though.
Well, it's not really a chore for us, is it? It's probably more of a chore for them. tab.co.nz/Punters Lounge, you'll find all of this. Zach Brown, the best of the weekend. I love Barabbas on Sunday at Gore, as well as the Sparkle and Bowfighter in race number 7.
580, Zach Brown.
Ooh, a bit of gold from Gore too, I like that. 580.
Bowfighter in the last, I think, 3 or 4 months has been running around in the Heath Cavalier sort of open handicaps up north. Had a couple of quiet runs down south, and he slides into the Gore Cup just quite nicely, I think.
Nice card at Ashburton today, and you've picked out a couple of nice ones there too.
Yeah, Brother Will and Queen Jetson, both worth backing. If you're watching the show on Friday, both worth backing, Brother Will, Queen Jetson. Hey, gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap it up.
So we're taking a break. We've been put on the back burner for a couple of weeks over Christmas and New Year's, but for people who are wanting form on Boxing Day, the Punters Lounge will have a Boxing Day special from 10:30.
Yeah, the Punters Lounge Live's really going to kick into gear over this period, so you'll be able to have really good up-to-date
So whilst it's
preview
sad
action.
in some respects, it's also positive in others. You've got to see the silver lining in these things. But so make sure you tune into the Punters Lounge for all your holiday form.
Yeah.
Thanks, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. We'll
Happy
see
Christmas.
you in the new year. To you at home, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know.